You're listening to a Bespoken media production.
You're listening to New Frontiers, brought to you by Scotland's Veterans Wellbeing Alliance. I'm Richard Henderson.
And I'm Hannah Utley.
New Frontiers is a podcast that shines a light on the amazing charities across Scotland that are supporting veterans and their families to thrive in Civvy Street.
And in this final episode, we're joined by Dr Linda Irvine Fitzpatrick to talk through some of our highlights from episodes 5 to 7. Linda, welcome back. How are you doing today?
I'm great. It's good to be back. Good
Fantastic.
to see you both.
Thank you for coming back again. And just a reminder, if you've not listened to these episodes yet, don't worry. You can, of course, find them in your podcast feed, where you can also subscribe to New Frontiers so you don't miss any future episodes.
Now, just to remind you, here are some of the clips from the last 3 episodes.
I think the work that Bravehound do is absolutely amazing, and I've heard so many stories from the guys who've got dogs, and it's just totally transformed and changed their lives.
This is Theo. He's basically my hero. He saved my life, changed my life, gave me a reason to believe again. And I mean, I can't thank Bravehound enough. Saved my life, like I said.
There are a few people that will come in, they're not really bothered about the crafts, they're coming in for the social aspect, which is fine, because we all say there's only one rule at Veterans Tribe Scotland, and that's there are no rules. If you want to just come in and have a cup of tea and a chat, that's what you do.
I've discovered that it's easier to talk when your hands are busy. It frees the mind from its normal constraints of reserve. We support each other. We listen to each other. We talk to each other. We help each other.
The main kind of target for the digital hub is isolated veterans. So we run telephone calls where we call in veterans, bring them into conference calls, and we run activities. Good laugh, great banter, and it brings the veterans in.
You're showing off me, Jim.
Oh God.
For the day I started over here, it's changed my life completely. I can't say enough or good things about the place, the people. They're so helpful, so friendly. I don't know what I would do with my life if I didn't have this. This is a highlight in my week. I love coming here.
When you get totally into that zone of, you're painting, you're doing whatever, it's an amazing thing. And I always like to have some music while I'm doing my art as well. It's a very soothing, very chilled time. So yeah, it definitely helps.
So when Mac was talking about, obviously, the artwork that they've been doing, I've subsequently been online and looked at the exhibition that they put on in Helensburgh in the Submanor Museum there. Absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
Panoramic artwork. It blew me away.
Yeah, it really looked fantastic. What an event to be at. And I think it was really fantastic to hear from Mac and also from Jerry at Veterans Tribe Scotland about the value of kind of creativity in this space, and obviously the work that I'm doing with Stand Easy is part of that as well. And so it's great to see that being profiled, I think, because we often talk a lot about the more therapeutic maybe services, so it was great to see these kind of social activities and creative activities really profiled there.
Yeah, and we talk about mindfulness a lot, but it does, these events that, when you go to these sessions with them, it does calm the mind, doesn't it? And it gives people time to reflect, time to unwind, to maybe not even think about it, just, get rid of the buzz, because we've mentioned it before, society's full on, you've got emails, your phone goes, you've got social media, and you suddenly go and do an art class and it just disappears. It just gives you to get lost in the moment.
Yeah. Now,
Linda, I know you've got a lot of experience out with what we're doing within the arts over the years.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, arts and mental health for me just go hand in hand, and I've seen so many people and worked and spoken to so many people whose lives have been completely transformed by the arts, all forms of arts, and people who used to describe themselves in terms of their condition or their illness would then suddenly be describing themselves as an artist, and they would be having their art exhibited in a public exhibition, bringing their friends and families to see what they had produced, and it was just absolutely transformative. And I know years ago when Hannah and I first connected with Stand Easy, I remember us talking about how are we going to actually describe this to people, because people just go, oh, that's not for me, and I haven't done drama, or I haven't done this since I was at school. And actually, as soon as people get involved, people just get it.
Yeah.
It just makes sense.
Yeah, and I think the great thing about the arts, be it visual arts, kind of the more crafting kind of stuff that Jerry does, or theatre or music, anything at all, is that it allows us to change the stories that we tell about ourselves. And we said in the last episode, I think you said it, Linda, that we all love to tell stories, and that's how we, build our understanding of the world and how we build our understanding of ourselves, isn't it? And I think the great thing about engaging in the arts is that it allows us to change those stories if we want to, and to, like you say, to find new skills that can help us change the narrative from I'm Hannah and I'm defined by this condition that I've got, to I'm Hannah and I'm a poet, or I'm a painter, or I'm an actor, or whatever thing it is that you've found your passion in. And I think we see that a lot in Stand Easy, and we certainly saw that from the people that contributed to those episodes with Mac and with Jerry, that this idea of people finding a new sense of self-worth because they're exploring this new skill, and they're, I guess, learning new skills, and that makes us feel really good about ourselves, doesn't it, if we're able to master something new. And as well, we've said before about, a lot of the time the narrative that we hear about veterans is the challenges that they face. I think it was Mac that said sometimes maybe we need to think more about the skills that they bring to our society, and I think this work with the arts can give us an opportunity to show people that they bring skills and they have skills, and just because they're no longer in the military doing the very specific job and using their skills in a very specific way doesn't mean that they don't have value and purpose and deserve to have the opportunity to try new things, to build new skills, and to use their existing skills in new ways.
Yeah, and I mean, I mentioned the last time we were talking, Hannah, about when it comes to art, I personally, sometimes it gives a bit of a fear, because I'm thinking, oh my goodness, am I going to have to be up on stage? Am I going to have to be some sort of thespian and, outgoing and what have you? And there's so many different areas. Art covers so many different topics, and it allows veterans and families to get involved in so many different areas that they may have a skill they're unaware of. So it might be poetry, it might be even, writing some song lyrics, or it might just be making, I know you've done it before Stand Easy's done it before on their family weekends, where the children have made a video on the iPads, which has just been unbelievable. And they had no skills beforehand, and 40 hours later, there's a 5-minute video that they've made together, and they've engaged with it and they've loved it. Yeah. And it's just getting that across. Now, am I right in thinking, Linda, that you're planning to try and have a bit of an arts festival with the Alliance?
I am indeed.
Or have I let the cat out the bag?
No, you haven't. I'm glad you said that. But just before I talk a wee bit about that, I just wanted to say, Richard, but you're a natural performer.
Yeah. That doesn't sound good.
It's an ambition of mine that the Alliance develops an art programme, or an art programme including a festival, and the working title is Creative Forces. We've brought a group of people together who have an interest, and we are hoping that we create a year-long arts programme, so a celebration of veterans' arts, using a whole variety of different media. And I was just really struck by what you were saying about maybe being a bit intimidated or whatever, but just thinking about how much we use art in our everyday life. Like, how many times do you stop to take a photograph? Like, there's a whole demystification of arts that's happening because the accessibility of things like smartphones, so you can curate your life, through using social media. I mean, I don't know, there's something about how it taps into different aspects of your personality, different facets of yourself, and just being able to express yourself in a different way, I think is kind of priceless.
Yeah, and I think, this it speaks to this fact that some art forms certainly have maybe become seen as something that is for a certain type or a certain class of person, that, oh, it's not for me, I'm not, and it's been seen as something that's a bit kind of highfalutin, a bit sort of arty-farty, like, oh, and that's not something for, you know, the everyday person on the street. And I think we forget that, you know, often we say about Stand Easy, don't worry, you're not going to find yourself on stage wearing tights reciting Shakespeare. And we say that really flippantly because that is some people's fear. But I think, you know, even things like that, we forget that these people that are now revered in this way, like Shakespeare and like the war poets, I suppose, as well, they weren't creating work for high society necessarily. They were creating work for the masses, and art has always been and should really be something for the masses, for everybody. It shouldn't be something that's only available to those with money and the privilege of having the time or you know, being able to pay for it or whatever it might be, that the arts, and I think Max said it is the easiest thing in the world to make something. Everybody can make something. You just need someone to make you believe that you can make it, and you just need a place where you feel safe enough to give it a go, and where you feel safe enough in the knowledge that if it doesn't go as you hoped, that's okay, because you can come back tomorrow and you can try it again. And that's the whole point of it.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so great about the Alliance, because there's so many organisations, not everyone that we've been able to mention in these podcasts, but I know they'll get a shout out at the end, but how they all come together collectively to help support all these activities. And I suppose a lot of them do come around, we look at art, we look at Wellbeing, they both have the same purpose, don't they? They're all about calming the mind and helping people find their place and move on. Yeah. And that's, as I say, that's the one good thing about the Alliance. I suppose it's a bit like a spider's web, isn't it? You have the Alliance in the centre, and everyone feeds into that, and all the organisations themselves collectively go around that. And that's the main thing, is having that communication between all the partners and how they all interact for the benefits of the veterans and their families.
I think it's getting away a little bit from that quite outdated idea of our veterans, or, you know, the kind of being gatekeeping or holding on to people that we work with, and actually going, well, here's a person or a family that are in need of some support, or are in need of a bit of a break, in need of some fun in their life. I don't really mind if it's not doing drama with me. It could be doing anything with any one of these wonderful organisations. I would like them to get the support and the intervention, I suppose, that they need, and not to be precious if they come and they try what we do and say, actually, that really wasn't for us. Fine.
Yeah, there's no offence in that, is there? I mean,
it's not for everyone. No. Of course it's not. But I think there will be something for everyone within the Alliance, hopefully.
Definitely. And the good thing is it's evolving, it's expanding.
Yeah.
You know, there isn't duplication. Everyone has their place. So we don't have that silo way of thinking and working. Everyone is very good at what they do, but we're even better collectively. And I think, you know, the arts projects really help with that. And I think, you know, having the conversations with Jerry and everyone there that attends the tribe around all of Scotland. I mentioned it before. I don't know how she manages to carry everything in her car, but you know, there's contacts all around, and the main thing is it's national. Yeah, you know, and all these organisations are able to reach out nationally.
I remember when Jerry arrived at the VE Day, so that was featured in an earlier episode, and she arrived with the most crafting material I've ever seen in my life. But what was amazing was everybody was crafting together. And people who hadn't made things for years. I was talking to a couple of older gentlemen, and they said, I haven't done an arts craft since I was at school, and I'm loving this. And he was making like a wood chime to take home to his partner, and it was just incredible to see. And it was just, I don't know. And when you're sitting doing things with your hands, you're just having a chat, you're talking to people. It was just incredible. Yeah,
it frees your mind a little bit, doesn't it? Empties your mind a little bit, and lets your mouth open, and stuff just sort of comes out, I think. Yeah.
So I know, Linda, that we had a brief conversation at the Bravehound event that was here at Craiglocker, and we did touch on the fact that you're a cat person, and you probably wouldn't get away with a cat show, but thankfully we got away with having a dog show. And this is where I'm going to be very biased, because we all know dogs are better than cats. But what a day that was. What a fantastic day. And you were one of the judges as well.
I was. I'm never doing that again. It was awful, saying no to about 19 dogs and yes to one dog.
Oh, don't look into the eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was incredible to see the demonstrations that people were doing of how what everyday support the dogs are given to the veterans, and the stories about what the dogs mean to the veterans, and how having a dog to take care of has totally transformed people's lives. It's absolutely humbling. I think Fiona and her team do amazing work.
Yeah. Yeah, and I thought what was interesting as well from personal point of view, because you always think, okay, veterans in need, he gets a support dog or she gets a support dog, and off they go on the road to recovery. But it's not quite as simple as that, because you have to make sure that veteran's in the right place to actually look after that dog and help train that dog, because they do form a sort of symbiotic relationship, really. So they've learned together. You're training that dog along with yourself, and that was a process that I was unaware of, I have to admit.
Yeah. It's being part of something bigger than yourself and having a responsibility to something else, isn't it? I know that several years ago now, one of a veteran who was working with Stand Easy was lucky enough to get a dog through Bravehound, and it really did turn his life around, because it gave him a routine, actually. I think that was the most important thing. He was quite a young man who'd come out the army, out from the infantry, and was really kind of quite rudderless, and I think getting this dog really gave him that sense of routine in his life. He'd be saying, I've got to get up, I need to walk the dog, and then I can do this, and then I walk her again at lunchtime, and then I can do this, and then back out again in the evening. And it gave him something to anchor his life around, which I think just allowed him to then be able to take the next step in terms of recovering some of his life, really. Yeah,
you touched on that correctly. Routine. We've heard about routine in a lot over all these podcasts. Really, people talk about when that routine stopped. That's when issues started to happen, and also having that routine back gets you back on track, and be that with the dog, or be that doing gardening, or anything really, going to the arts events. That's a routine. You get into that. You look forward to it.
Yeah. And I suppose, I know you met with Henry and his dog Theo, Richard. I don't know if that's something that he touched on in your conversation about the routine and about the benefits of having Theo with him.
Very much so. And one of the things that you did talk about was how Theo, when he was a younger dog, used to like to take himself off. And you don't expect that when you think of these dogs. You think they come fully trained.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, no, Theo's 2.5. He's still a pup himself. So they've learned together, and that's built that connection and that bond. So they know what each other are like. They know what each other need. And he was talking about going down to London, and that was a worrying time. There was a lot of thought for him to do that, but he knew he could do it because Theo was there, and they were going to go down together. And he mentioned himself that you touched on that routine. When he wasn't feeling great and he didn't want to get up or go out, he knew he had to.
Yeah. So we've just been talking about how getting out with your dog, your Bravehound, can be really important in terms of building routine and fostering positive mental health and well-being. And I think that idea of getting out and getting moving is something that came up in one of our other episodes when we were speaking to the guys from the Journey Fitness, but also to John and Curtis from Sight Scotland Veterans as well.
I'm really struck by thinking back to the dark days of COVID. And what did people do? We went for walks, we went outside, we bought dogs, and we watched Netflix or listened to podcasts. So we used outside space, arts, and pets. All things that we're featuring now. Because what did they all do? They all reminded us to be connected to one another.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It was amazing, actually, when we look at what happened in the lockdown years, can we call them that, how services diversified, how it went online. Now, I know there's a lot of people have got a lot more digitally inclusive than there was there. But it was really inspiring to see how people managed to adapt their services to keep in contact with the veteran community and the family. And you see how that's progressed when you look at Sight Scotland. Veterans and what they've done there, and the story, the heartfelt story that we listened to. Yeah,
and John just talking about how just from being part of that phone call, first of all, with the other veterans, and being able to connect with other people from that community who are experiencing similar things to what he was, and how transformative, really, I think. And I think that's probably an understatement. He said when you spoke to him, Richard, I don't think I'd be here if it wasn't for this. And what higher kind of accolade could you hope for than that, really? That
Yeah, and it touched on that routine, doesn't it? He now has that routine. He
Yes.
knows, where he's going to go, and it's the same. It's the same at the journey. I think the ladies and gentlemen that we spoke to up there, and the veterans up there as well, was they have that routine. They know what they're going to do on a specific day. They know what to expect. They know the benefits of that physical activity that they're going to be engaging with, and the mindfulness and the yoga. And they find what's right for them and what works for them.
Yeah. And we know that physical movement has real positive impacts on our mental health and on our well-being in a really quantifiable way. We know that people with conditions like post-traumatic stress, that moving can be really transformative for them in helping to manage and deal with those conditions and some of the symptoms that they're experiencing. And I think it was really interesting listening to the folk from the journey about their approach in terms of making sure they've got the people with the right training to make sure that everybody can access movement that is suitable and appropriate and supportive for them in whatever kind of walk of life they're finding themselves in.
And what I liked about when I was over there and chatting to Steve and the other guys involved with it is how going forward with the right time, the right funding, that model can be replicated across all of Scotland.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're able to offer the training and the coaching to get the PTs in place across Scotland and to take that forward, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I said, because if something works, you want to be able to mirror that across the place. It's a shame that sometimes something is purely locational and it comes down to that postcode lottery.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing about the Alliance, is trying to overcome that and overcome these barriers and make it more inclusive for everybody.
Totally.
I know that's something you're quite passionate about, Linda.
It's important, I think, to recognise that our communities are all very different, but actually things like exercise, the arts, we can make sure that they're available across Scotland. They might not always look the same. What we might do in Glasgow might look quite different to what we would do on Lewis, but there would still be these opportunities around keeping fit, getting out and about, using the arts, using drama, using different approaches can all be available.
Yeah.
But actually working with local communities at a very grassroots level, I think is one of the strengths of the Alliance.
Yeah. And I think that the stuff that the Journey are doing as well, it comes back to this idea that we were talking about with the kind of the arts earlier, that you're learning that you can do hard things and that you are someone who can accomplish things. You can do hard things. You're going to the gym, you're working with your trainer, you're learning to lift heavier weights, you're overcoming obstacles, and that's all building your self-worth, isn't it? And showing you that you matter and that you can achieve things.
Mm-hmm. And when I was at the Journey Yoga, it was actually quite difficult to have conversations because it was such a relaxing environment, and it's not an environment I've ever really been into before. And to see everybody becoming calm and going through, their program, sitting there going, I have to have a conversation now, and really I just want to go chill out, So yeah, it's fantastic, and that's something that could be mirrored out. That's something that, and some of the people that we spoke to hadn't even thought about going along before, but they'd gone with a partner and what have you, and they suddenly see the benefits of it. And it is that whole thing that you've just got to try it, really.
Yeah, try something new, yeah.
So as we come at the end of these podcasts, there's obviously so many organisations within the Alliance that we've not been able to get round and have a conversation and a chat with. But I think it is very important that everyone does get a shout out. We do encourage everybody to go online, look a little bit more about the Alliance. But I think Linda, it'd be really great if you just gave a shout out to all the organisations that are currently within the Alliance.
Okay, ready for this? And by the time you listen to this, some more might have joined. Brave Hound, Care After Combat, Age Scotland, Rock to Recovery, Sacro, Scottish Veterans Residencies, Combat Stress, CAPS, Mindscope, Sight Scotland Veterans, Community Veteran Support, Cyrenians, Ahoy There, Stand Easy, Defence Garden Scheme, Defence Medical Welfare Service, Opcar Gom, The Journey, Thistle, Vector 24, Fighting with Pride, Health and Mind, Veterans Chaplaincy, Veterans Tribe Scotland, Walking with the Wounded, Operation Cairngorm, Lothian Veterans Centre, Phoenicia's Partnership, RFH Solutions, Help for Heroes, Military Museum, Warhead, Journey Yoga. And a huge thank you to our funders, the Armed Forces Community Covenant Trust.
It's quite crazy actually listening to you read out that list, Linda, and thinking back to where we started with the Live Life project, just kind of not long before lockdown, and just 6 or 7 of us there in that partnership, and how that kind of grew to then become the Alliance and then become what it is today. It's quite staggering really to think about the work that you've done, Linda, and everyone else has done to get to this point.
Absolutely. I think it's been the creative efforts of so many people over the years to say a huge thank you to, and we can't possibly name them all, but we certainly have very good memories of coming together as 6 random partners to what we are achieving today. And I'm really sorry if I've missed anyone, because I'm really hopeful that more people have joined the Alliance since the recording and the release. And like we've said, the door's always open.
Thank you very much for joining us for this quick bonus episode of New Frontiers. This episode also marks the end of this series. It's been such a joy and a pleasure to be part of. How do you both reflect on this series, Linda and Hannah?
Oh, I just think, like you've said, Richard, it's been an absolute joy to listen to some of these conversations and to chat with you guys about the work, the amazing work that everyone's doing. And it's really just really inspiring, I think, to hear what people are up to and to be reminded of why we're doing this.
I would completely echo that, Hannah. I think it's been such a privilege listening and learning, and I really hope we can do another series.
Yeah.
That's my ambition.
Absolutely. Watch this space.
Yeah, well, the more the merrier. The more information we can get out there, the more people we can get engaged, the better, because it just benefits the veteran community across the whole of Scotland.
Yeah. A huge thank you to Linda for joining us for this final episode for now. Hope you have you back again in the future. To find out more about Scotland's Veterans Wellbeing Alliance and to find a list of all of those organisations that are currently part of the Alliance, you can visit svwa.org.uk.
New Frontiers is produced by Bespoken Media. Recording and editing is by Patrick Wallace, Katie Revell, Ailish Hunter and Dave Howard. The music is Something New by the Eastern Plain. Normally we say goodbye, Hannah, to each other, but I think this time we say, and Linda's here as well, until the next time.
Until the next time.
Until the next time.
Produced by Bespoken Media.